Watch and burn.
Hey everyone. So tonight, I want to discuss the 1986 film, fuck that's bright, can't see shit, that's a person with dogs. Tonight I would like to discuss the 1986 film, Eye of the Tiger, starring Gary Busey and Judith Barsi, and Yaphet Kotto's in this. Who else is in this? Gary Busey, Judith Barsi. Oh, that's right, the main bad guy's played by William Smith. That's right. So Judith Barsi, Gary Busey, William Smith, Yaphet Kotto, and I think that's everybody, the principals at least. What this movie is about is this is sort of your standard mid-1980s era rape revenge type film where Busey at the beginning, he foils the rape of a nurse from the local hospital that would be at the hands of the sort of identically dressed yet infinitely powerful drug running motorcycle gang, I guess. This movie, it's not the best. In a lot of ways, I could argue that this movie is just made in order to toss in the odd sex assault, in order to sell how authentically tough this movie is or whatever, because I always find that whenever movies include things like rape, it's always like they're attempting to go for the low-hanging fruit in order to prove just how like hardcore their movie is, because I really don't like rape in movies. And that's one of the reasons why I find that putting women in peril just for the straight purpose of putting them in peril in order to make your movie seem tough, like your male protagonist is going to be extra tough and extra badass now because they raped his chick or whatever. I just find that so distasteful, I guess. But this movie is really entertaining. So, like I said, Busey's character, he foils the rape, but as the result, the drug-dealing bike gang, they come for revenge, and they kill his wife in front of his daughter. His daughter, of course, is played by the late Judith Barsi, and I'm assuming that they most likely gang-raped his wife, because that's what these guys do. And Judith Barsi, his daughter, can't talk, and she's sort of shell-shocked after witnessing the event. So I mean, this movie is just, it's so mean-spirited, and the fact that Judith Barsi is in it, she plays his daughter. I mean, I don't know if anybody knew at this point of whether or not they were aware that Judith Barsi was experiencing a lot of physical abuse at home at the hands of her piece-of-shit father. But looking back on this movie, I do find it odd that they put her, who's about 7 or so at this point, they put her in a movie where she witnesses the murder of her mother, and that's the type of thing Judith Barsi had to deal with all the time, was her father kicking the shit out of her mother in front of her. And eventually he'd start kicking the shit out of her too. And unfortunately, Judith Barsi would lose her life in a murder-suicide. A couple years after this, her father would go off fucking extra crazy, and he would shoot and kill her and her mother, and then he would kill himself. So it's sad, because Judith Barsi, she didn't really get to do a lot. I know she was in this, she was in All Dogs Go to Heaven, and she played Ducky in the first Land Before Time, before her piece of shit father killed her. So I always found it kind of strange that they had her in this movie, considering the subject matter. But still, as far as the revenge aspect goes, this movie kicks ass. He did some time for something, like some self-defense situation that went wrong because the sheriff didn't like him. So he ended up going to prison, and while he was in there, he meets this sort of really well-connected dude who's sort of like a drug runner himself or whatever, and he says, like, because, you know, you help me out inside, if you need anything out in the world, you let me know. And so when Busey's going up against William Smith and his gang of little motorcycle rapists, he's like, I need some gear. So he calls up his drug buddy from prison, and he sends him this fucking truck. I think it's a Ram, and it's like loaded for war. Like, it's like the fucking war wagon, you know? It's got like machine gun turrets on it, and it's got explosive capabilities, and it's got this high-tech sort of panel on the inside. And from that aspect, if you remove the sex assaults from this movie, the revenge aspect in sort of the life-size explosive machine-gunned Hot Wheels is absolutely amazing. And I love how, like, the little drug gang, they have a part of the desert claimed as their own, and they ride around there, and there's half-naked hot chicks bathing naked in the middle in plain sight of everybody, and they're riding around on their bikes, and they have planes coming and going filled with drugs and money. And William Smith, who plays an absolutely ferocious bad guy in everything that he does, because he's really intimidating. He does do a really, really good job in this, but there are aspects of this movie that are just so dumb. Like, I mean, they kidnapped Judith Barsi at the end. They put her in some little makeshift cage, and it's so dumb. This movie is mean-spirited, though, because after the bikers sort of crash his wife's funeral, they dig her coffin up and drag it out front of Busey's house just to fuck with him a little more. He ends up beheading William Smith's brother with a fucking thing of, I think it was like steel cord going across the street, and the guy that was going to rape the nurse at the start, he comes by and it beheads him. That was rad. But is there anything else that I wanted to say in particular about this? Let's see. Oh, yeah, that's right. When the gang is coming to get revenge on Busey and his family, that is the most breakaway movie house I think I've ever seen. Like, bikes go through walls like they're made of paper. And I will say, I think my favorite part in this movie is when he has one of the pieces of shit, like, he caught one of them and the guy's in the hospital because Gary Busey fucked him up and he can't talk because he messed his throat up. Gary Busey decides to shove a stick of dynamite up his ass with an extra long fuse and question him about a few things. And the guy dies, of course. I don't think the dynamite was real, but the guy dies as the result of the fright of having the dynamite shoved up his ass. And so I thought that was kind of cool. But this movie's a mess, and it's dumb. Like I said, that little drug compound where they have his daughter in a little cage, that was fucking stupid. The naked women bathing in plain sight of everybody, that was dumb too. And these drug planes coming and going. I don't care if you've got the sheriff in your pocket or not. That's a little too much. As well as all the guys in the gang looking the same. There's that too. But look, I'm gonna go. So thank you so much for hanging out with me for almost 7 minutes while I discussed the 1986 film Eye of the Tiger with Gary Busey. Like always, if you like this review, don't forget to do something nice for somebody. But please, most importantly, don't forget that the world is a better place because you are in it. I'm gonna go. Have a good night.